Hello, Matujima, and you're watching HornbillTV. For more than 3 years, Manipur has been trapped in a cycle of violence, mistrust, and deep ethnic divisions. Political initiatives have struggled, security operations have continued, and communities remained separated both physically and emotionally. But this week, an unexpected development has raised an important question. Can someone who once fought against the Indian state now become a bridge for peace? Former United National Liberation Front UNLF chairman Rajkumar Meghan, once convicted for waging war against India, has emerged publicly after years of silence. He has begun meeting Naga and Meitei academics, lawyers, civil society leaders and students in what he described as a personal effort to initiate dialogue and rebuild trust. He says violence has failed everyone and that Manipur's future depends on interdependent coexistence. Today, we examine why this development matters and what it could mean for the future of Manipur. Now, who is Rajkumar Meghan? For decades, Rajkumar Meghan was one of the most recognizable faces of Meitei insurgency. He joined the UNLF in 1970s and eventually became its chairman. The organization sought Manipur's independence from India and operated from bases across Myanmar and Bangladesh. Meghan was later arrested, convicted for waging war against the nation and released after completing his sentence in 2019. Since then, he has remained largely outside public life. That makes his re-emergence significant. Instead of advocating armed struggle, Meghan is now speaking about reconciliation, dialogue, and rebuilding relationships across communities. Why now? The timing is impossible to ignore. Manipur continues to witness violence despite changes in government and repeated security operations. Fresh militant attacks and continuing tensions demonstrate that peace remains fragile. Against this backdrop, Meghan argues that institutions alone cannot restore peace. His message is simple. When governments struggle, society itself must begin talking again. That explains why his first meeting have focused not on politicians but on intellectuals, lawyers, students and civil society representatives. One of the most interesting aspects of Meghan's initiative is that it begins with conversations between Nagas and Meiteis. Historically, these two communities have had their own political disagreements and competing aspirations. Yet both also recognize that prolonged instability benefits nobody. If meaningful dialogue develops between these communities, it could potentially reduce misunderstanding and create common ground on issues affecting the future of Manipur. Importantly, Meghan has also said that he is willing to meet cookie civil society organizations if they are prepared for dialogue. Whether such conversations actually happen remains uncertain, but the willingness to keep the door open is itself noteworthy. History across the world teaches us an important lesson. Governments can negotiate ceasefires, security forces can restore law and order, courts can deliver justice, but lasting peace ultimately depends on whether ordinary people decide to trust each other again. That process usually begins through dialogue. Community leaders, religious leaders, academics, students, women's organizations, youth groups, civil society. These are often the people who quietly rebuild fractured societies long before politicians reach formal agreement. Perhaps Meghan recognizes exactly that. None of these means peace is around the corner. Deep wounds remain. Thousands have been displaced. Communities continue to live separately. Political disagreements remain unresolved. There is also understandable skepticism. Some will question whether a former insurgent can genuinely become a peace builder. Others may wonder whether one individual's initiative can really make a difference. Those are fair questions. Dialogue alone cannot solve every issue, but without dialogue, almost nothing can be solved. The story of Rajkumar Meghan is in many ways the story of conflict itself. A man once associated with armed struggle is now asking people to talk instead of fight. Whether his initiative succeeds or fails will depend on many factors beyond his control. But perhaps the bigger lesson lies elsewhere. Peace often begins with unlikely conversations. And in a state that has witnessed years of division, Even a small conversation may become the first step towards something much larger. Thank you for watching. I'm Atu Jamir. See you next time on Hornbill TV.